Good afternoon, folks. You know how it works. Folks began coming in. We get the comments going. So the question we're going to start out with today, Ruth and RWP, good afternoon to you folks. Should President Trump and Rudolph Giuliani, for that matter, America's mayor, everyone knows who Rudolph Giuliani is, should they reach out? Reach out to who? The Freeman family. Now, I understand a lot of you folks are not watching the hearings in regards to January 6th. I get it. Anyone in my MAGA camp, my beloved MAGA audience, the first response is, it's all hogwash. It's all a conspiracy. It's a hoax, etc., etc. That is fine. But just because you're not watching these events, just because you're not partaking in viewing of the hearing does not mean it's not taking place. So who are the Freemans? The Freemans testifying in regards to the hearing, this is the mom of a Georgia poll worker. She is suggesting that President Trump and Rudolph Giuliani publicly named them by name up to as many as 18 times and suggested that they are professional voting fraudsters. Their lives have been turned upside down since this. They have been testifying that they received so many death threats that the mom was told by the FBI she needs to leave her place of residence because it's not safe. Under testimony, she stated, "Do you realize how bad it is to be attacked by the President of the United States?" I'm asking this question because Joseph Brown, in the comments, both of them belong in prison for at least 25 years. If they are truly voting professional fraudsters, you are right. But you got to prove the evidence. If Trump believes that they have committed this type of fraud, he should also be accountable for the evidence. If they are on the January 6th hearings, you would have to assume that those running the hearings, to prevent being incredibly embarrassed, do not believe Trump and Giuliani have that proof. So, if they cannot prove their accusations, should they be liable for ruining the lives of these two women? And keep in mind, there is a defamation lawsuit by this family against Giuliani. It's a little bit more difficult to go against a former president of the United States, but they already are going against Giuliani. So, at the very least, Rudolph Giuliani is going to have to show evidence why he suggested these two women are professional polling fraudsters. That's all I'm asking. And nothing has happened for 15 months. Poor, pathetic left, says Trump is lazy. Well, let me make it clear. We're talking about the Freemans right now. But the overwhelming majority of folks that have been harmed by this election issue have been right-wingers, Republicans. You know, you got the QAnon Shimon. How many of these folks got felonies? Poor Ashley Babbitt, if you want to bring her name up. These are the people that have overwhelmingly been harmed by what was claimed to have taken place in 2020. You know, they almost want to have one of those disclaimers. No liberals were harmed in the filming of this event. By far, most of the folks harmed from the 2020 accusations have been right-wingers. There's no denying that. January 6th alone represents 800 people. I believe 860 some odd people now have criminal records because of January 6th. So you can say poor left, poor liberals, whatever, and I do believe there will be a red wave in the midterms. I'm not defending Biden, so don't come on here making it sound like because of my name, I just defend liberals and bash Republicans. We don't do that on this broadcast. And by the way, the box is open. I'm just simply asking, if Trump and Giuliani cannot show substantial proof of their claims that Freeman and her daughter were professional fraud pollsters, should he be held accountable? Should he have to apologize for that? The box is open. We're going to ever 50.
Yo, good morning, my man. How you doing,
Good
fella?
morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just came across your feed once again. I listen to it daily. I appreciate your talking points.
Thank you.
I appreciate your talking points.
I'm glad to have you. So in regards to this particular issue, what is your take on this?
With the insurrection, or I just came on, so I missed part of it.
Okay, this is in regards to the Freeman family. If I was in my regular makeshift studio, I'd have their picture up. But Trump accused a Georgia pollster and her mom, who was doing this as a temp assignment, of being professional polling fraudsters. And their lives have been turned upside down. He named them out 18 different times by name. And the mom, who looks to be at least in her 60s or more, was told by the FBI, you need to leave your place of residence for your safety because the death threats were coming in so great. Now, to this day, Trump has not presented any substantial proof that this daughter and mother couple were any sort of, professional fraudsters. So I'm asking, should he be held accountable, or should he at least reach out and apologize for the damage that they have sustained in their lives?
I definitely feel an apology is in order right now with our current times and what people are allowed to get away with on both sides of the aisle. I think a charge would be hard to come by. Not that it couldn't happen, and not that I would disagree with it. And I did vote for Trump. I did vote for Obama. I voted both sides of the board. But I do believe that people in power of such positions across the board need to be held accountable to their words. I've seen a lot of hypocrisy on both sides of the aisle. I've kind of stepped away from a lot of the federal, uh, all the talks and stuff of
Okay.
everything down to the elections. We have this federal oversight in our country that has been designed to keep us at odds against each other within the people of the nation. I believe that we all have so much more in common with each other than what the
I
idiot box programs us to believe.
I totally agree
You
with that.
know,
And a lot of it's done for ratings. A lot of it's done for
right?
sensationalism. And by the way, in the comments, looks like it says Rev in the truth or something like that. You asked if these women were white, would I care? I make it clear on this program, I don't just go after white and black issues. I haven't even brought up the racist word in this. So, and make it clear, I've also mentioned the Kavanaugh assassination attempts and things like that. I call a spade on both sides. I call a strike, no matter who is at bat. So don't just see my name and think I'm in here bashing right wingers. Most of my audience is MAGA. So understand that most of my audience is MAGA. This is a legitimate claim. I don't care if the women were Chinese. What he has said has significantly impacted their lives. That's why I'm bringing this up. And I agree with you, America Forever. Yeah, the media and the powers that be are incredibly divisive. But how do we get around that? They're going after what we care about.
Right. And I think that's where we need to start seeing that we have to start coming together within our communities. And I know it's so much easier said than done because so many
Yeah.
people, whether it's an extreme right winger, extreme left winger, have been indoctrinated to believe that, one side is worse than the other, or that
Yeah.
one side's just out to destroy the other. I believe both sides on the federal level are designed to hold us under their thumb. I mean, in America, we all have the chance to survive and thrive, but there's people that, I don't come from a bunch of money, so I mean, there's people that have to work for it harder. The problem is a lot of people get blindsided by the media, whether it's left or right wing fed. They need to get off this idiot box. My dad called it the idiot box, and it wasn't TV shows, it was programs,
Yeah.
because it was designed to guide you in a certain direction, what you watch, what you
Well,
hear.
the thing about it, and it's always going to work because they use things that we care about, social issues, whether it's pro-choice, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, common sense gun legislation. So it does become a little bit difficult to see through it. And then obviously, when you got division coming from the top, that does not make it any better. I'm having a quick, I'm getting a lot of, I don't know, squeakiness from your side or something. I'll give you the last word. I'm gonna have to move it on. There's something wrong with the transmission, but I'll
Yeah,
give you the last word if
it's
you can hear me.
probably it's probably on my side, but I just like to say, I mean, I don't have a whole lot. I'm not here to stick.
Okay, I think
I'm
his
just,
okay. All right, well, I appreciate you coming through. Yeah, and if for some reason it definitely
you know, look past it and start interacting with each other and realize that we got more in common than we know. Thanks
fair.
so much for your time. I appreciate your platform. I don't. You're not a divisive person at all. You're
Thank
very
you.
respectful, and you approach the issue just like the rest of us humans should. Have a good one,
Appreciate
bud.
that, man.
Okay, well, I'm gonna cut it. I don't know if you could hear me or not, but I did get that, and I appreciate the compliments. You're always welcome back. Hopefully, it's not my side, but if it is, we'll find out. My feelings are mine, not the mainstream media, and I see that in the comments. Rep 8319. We talk often. That's fine. That's all I'm asking, folks, is that if Giuliani, who's being sued, unlike Trump, if they have proof that these folks committed some sort of fraud, you got to show this. You just can't make these type of statements and defame and injure folks with no absolute proof. Do I think Biden got more votes than Trump or more votes than Obama? I can admit that that seems circumstantial, that that seems highly unlikely, or that that seems unusual. But that doesn't mean I confirm that it actually took place. And that's where the difference is that a lot of my MAGA folks, my MAGA friends, the audience, sees something that looks suspect and is actually going on record and saying that did not happen. You can't go with circumstantial evidence and make an absolute statement, particularly if it's harming the lives of people, causing a lot of your friends, your fellow voters who have the same mindset and logic as you, want the same things for America as you, to act in negative ways, ruining their own lives. January 6th is a perfect example. Folks acted in a certain manner. They didn't receive absolute proof. They acted on circumstantial evidence. And now their lives are harmed because of it. That is all I'm saying. Know what you're getting into before you dive in head first. Looking at the comments, we got to stop this division. It's time to come together for our country. It's Panda 78. Right now, one of the strongest candidates for 2024, it looks like it's Trump. Is there anybody that believes Trump is promoting unity? Is Trump trying to make America great again and undo the economic failures of Biden in the past? Or is he trying to unify the country? I can agree with the former. You'd be lying if you said he was trying to do the latter. Plain and simple. Looking at the box, let me move it on. Fuzzard, be nice. We'll move it on to the next caller. Biden's team cheated. End of discussion. Then show them. Fuzzard, be nice. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. I can't see if my image is on there. I'm not sure, but that's. Um. Anyways,
I can see you.
okay. Yeah, I can't see me, but I can see you, and that's all that matters, I guess.
Okay.
Anyways, real quick, and I caught just the tail end of what you were saying there, and you were talking about race and what have you. Giuliani's comments of the UBS drive and the heroin and cocaine, a vial of heroin and cocaine, those were 100% racially derived. You can argue with me as much as you want on that. There's no way there wasn't some racial undertone to those comments.
Well, and let me make it clear. And like I said, free speech. I'm not going to interfere with your speech at all. You can see how I'm not even necessarily, even though the two victims of this are obviously black women. I'm not even invoking race into it. I would feel the same way if they were Chinese or white or whatever. They're being slandered. But you're suggesting that the comment, because Rudolph Giuliani's comments, he started talking about they were passing thumb drives around like they were making a drug deal. You're suggesting that it has racial overtones, correct?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't think he makes. Let's say it was video of three white men, I don't think you get the cocaine heroin comment behind it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
sure, the passing around is sketchy, but do you use that part? I don't think you
Yeah.
do.
Well, here's what I don't get. Both Rudolph Giuliani and Trump's attorney Sidney Powell, these are very, very intelligent people at the top of their game. I don't
Sure.
understand why they would get themselves involved in this. They know the judicial system operates off of proof as opposed to circumstantial evidence. And well, I'm sure that Biden did not get as many votes as Trump. That's not proof. And I'm really surprised to see two folks that are this high up in the legal game get involved in this. What do you think would lead this to happen?
I have no idea. I do not know where. I mean, especially with Giuliani, he was America's governor.
America's
He
mayor,
is,
yeah.
or mayor rather. Yeah, he went out with a blaze of glory. He didn't even probably have to do anything ever again. But now he steps in and ruins his face like this. It's sad, and
Yeah.
just defending it. And so the guy from Arizona, I can't remember, the selectman from Arizona, he or the secretary, he was saying, "Hey, that's wonderful, Rudy. Bring me the proof. I just need to see it." After a long period of time, Giuliani came back and said, "Well, we just have a lot of theories that we believe strongly." It's like, this is not how it works, Rudy. You don't bring case upon case on theories, and that's exactly what he said. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I tell people in my lives all the time because I think there are going to be indictments, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's Rudy Giuliani, whether it's Georgia bringing it against Donald Trump. There are going to be things. If people are not watching these lives, I mean these not lives, hearings.
The hearing.
If you are not watching it, you have no skin in the conversation because you really need to understand what is being said. And these are Republican people that are answering the questions. These are Donald Trump's friends that are answering the questions.
Yeah, and see, I look at it like this: like you receive some of these guys in the hood, and they get shot by the cop, and I see this from the right wing all the time. My baby didn't do nothing wrong, and they mock these folks. I actually think that when it comes to Trump and his supporters, he has what I refer to as a mother's love. You know how a mother will never accept that her child did anything wrong. I don't care how much evidence the police presents. My baby was a good kid. And I believe that is the way a lot of MAGA folks are viewing Trump, is that you walked into the courtroom like, my baby didn't do nothing wrong. The prosecutor's trying to steamroll my baby. It's just like I said, you hear about a lot of these kids. My baby is a good boy. And you find out this guy's been dealing drugs and everything. And I will say it this way. Take Trump out of the picture and look at literally any other American citizen. Whereas a lot of their folks that they appointed, like imagine a drug dealer where all of his lieutenants were testifying against him in court. They convict people like this every single day in our judicial system. This is the way it works. You got Bill Barr and all of these folks that Trump appointed literally snitching and testifying against him. You know how many folks are serving the rest of their lives in prison based on this exact procedure? So, Fuzzer, what do you think is making folks see Trump as innocent no matter what comes out?
It's just, we're hearing it. We're hearing it in this. We're hearing the big lie, the manipulation. I mean, right now, and there's also a misunderstanding that people that aren't seeing it, they think they're talking about January 6th. They are talking about everything leading up to it. So people are believing all this stuff coming up to it. You alluded to, you don't know whether or you find it a little bit difficult that Biden got more votes than Trump or Barack Obama. And I don't, which is fine. But the reason I think Trump had more votes cast against him. Not that Biden got the votes. Trump got votes against him to record numbers.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you get more.
I've said that. Yeah, I've said that when folks bring up the size of Biden rallies compared to Trump, I often say the McCain family, the Romney family, the Reagan family, the Bush family, they're not going to be at a Biden rally, but they're voting for Biden. And there's a whole lot of people out there like that. So I do get your point.
Sure. But I don't know. I guess, the guy has charisma. The guy can talk. I don't know. people like the rallies. People do like it. They like his crassness. I don't care for it at all. I think he's embarrassing. People that know me know this, but yeah, I don't know, and I don't. I'm not trying to make this comparison, really, but someone else who had a lot of charisma was Adolf Hitler. If you ever watched him speak, I know that's a horrible name to bring in people's lives. but
I wasn't expecting you to go there.
well, I'm not comparing the two, but I'm just saying if you ever actually watched one of his speeches or something like that, he can get a crowd riled up, and he got the same idea of followings. It's just a lot of charisma. Charisma can go a long ways, and I think that's what it is. And then you just get dedication. And no, my mom was different than yours. My mom was, what the fuck did you do that for? What? You done fucked up.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the issues. I don't believe Trump has a lot of folks who can offer dissenting opinions around him that he trusts. I think he's literally surrounded by yes men. I mean, even his daughter, according to the hearing, was unable to reach him while this whole event was taking place. So there was nobody that could get in touch with him and tell him, you need to do something. This is not good for your legacy. Listening to the hearing, literally he would not pick up the phone. So there does not appear to be anybody that could get through to him if really needed to get him to sway his own opinion.
I agree 100%. And the only person that could have, or that probably tried closer than anyone else, who has declined to, as of right now anyways, to speak, is Mark Meadows. That man I would like to hear talk. I think he knows a lot more, and that's why he's not talking, because he can't do it without probably indicting himself and Donald Trump at the same time. So who knows?
Fair enough. It could be. All right, well, I got to move it on, Fuzzard. I appreciate you coming through, man.
It's always a blast talking to you. I love your show, man.
Absolutely. Thank you. Right, and by the way, we got a couple hundred in here. Tap your screen. Get your boy to 5,000 likes. I understand for my audience, my beloved MAGA audience, most of the folks in here are MAGA. I understand this is some shit you don't want to hear. You don't want to talk about this. Let's go back to Hunter Biden's laptop. Where the hell is Crooked Hillary? I get what you want to discuss. But right now, this is what is in the news. We talk about current events. No snowflakes. That's what we say here all day, every day. Don't turn into a snowflake when it's time to discuss Trump. I don't run from Biden and his horrible economy. I don't run from the failures of the Biden administration. I'm willing to discuss Benghazi and all of that shit. Right now, this is your guy. And your guy they're having a hearing about your guy. We don't run from that because you don't want to hear it. That is snowflake type shit. Now, I'm going to give you my honest spiel on this. Like I just said while I was talking to the last caller, Fuzzer. If this type of testimony was coming out against any other American citizen, the country would be saying that person is in trouble. And your humble correspondent, yours truly, I try to call strikes a strike no matter who the hell is at bat, regardless of my damn name. I'm going to give you my honest spiel on this. I would ask my MAGA audience, my beloved audience, be prepared for the chance of President Trump either announcing that he will not run in 2024 or running and not becoming victorious. This shit is bad. Just because you're not watching it does not mean it is not happening. Just because you think it's all fraud, it's all a hoax, does not mean that the entire public is going to think that way as well. I'm just telling you that. No different than your child's attorney may come and tell you, I understand you believe your child is innocent, but the evidence they're presenting looks bad for your child. Watch this shit from a fair point of view. Close your eyes and imagine it's somebody else and ask yourself, how strong of a case do they have against this person? How bad does it look? Lots of innocent people get convicted in our country every damn day. So don't ever believe that a hoax can't convict somebody. Don't ever believe that fraudulent testimony can't convict somebody. There is a ton of people serving time in jail for that right now. And I'm not saying that this is a hoax or fraud. I'm just simply asking you to look at what's being presented against Trump and ask yourself, do they have enough on this guy to convince enough people? That is all I'm asking you to do. Now, I have said clearly, I think it would be dangerous to ever even imagine putting President Trump in cuffs. I would strongly advise against that. But my guess is they'll get to him and get him to either admit he will not run for office again and get out of politics or something of that nature. But walking Trump out in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs is not only dangerous. Yours truly, a humble correspondent. I believe that is a pipe dream. Going on to the next caller, modern caller now. Teo 1276 said you're totally wrong. I'm always wrong with you, Timoteo. But then again, you believe Hillary Clinton is currently incarcerated. So I don't know where to go with that. Modern colonizer, you didn't follow Timoteo this time. Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
So, if I could get this dog to leave me alone. So here's my take on things, man. I understand if you just flip on and watch the hearings, you're like, man, this looks bad. I get that. And then you'll also hear from the left, hey, look at all these Republicans turning over on Trump. Like, obviously, it's like, well, time out. These are people who are looking for 20, 30-year-long careers moving forward, and they got to play the game. And we already know, my opinion, that there's not a lot of Republican support for Donald Trump because he's not them.
Let me interrupt you. I'm gonna let you continue, but let me say this. When it comes to your right-hand man, or in the drug game, they call it lieutenants testifying against the big guy. Everybody that testifies is looking for something. Like you said, the folks testifying against Trump are looking for lifelong careers. Everyone that snitches generally gets something out of it. Yet we successfully convict people based on snitch testimony all the time. People get deals all the time. That's not unusual.
Right. And I don't know. I don't know if we can say, like, hey, this guy's a drug dealer. His testimony is solid. Like, I've never understood that, you know?
Why would we? Okay, here's the point. What Bill Barr, for instance, his attorney general, America's top cop during Trump's term, he served under Reagan, George H.W. Bush. He has an esteemed career. Why would we believe that Bill Barr is all of a sudden corrupt?
Because he's
already done. When you say these folks are looking for lifelong careers in politicians, he's already done that.
Fair enough. Is his son going to be the next attorney general one day? I mean, these are monarchies in our political system. George Bush can trace his family lineage back to the founding fathers. This is not, some one and done type career stuff here. And the only reason I bring that part up is just that's why I think you've got a lot of Republicans, quote unquote, rolling over on Trump. Now,
okay, well, based on what you're saying, I guess the question I'd have to ask you is, how could you trust anyone? Anybody that testifies against the president, whether it's Trump, Obama, folks want to go after Hillary Clinton, Hunter Biden, anybody who testifies against these people has a substantial amount to gain. You're going to get book deals, you're going to get contracts, you might get voted in office. Based on what you're suggesting is, how would anybody ever be able to testify? You just simply say what you said. They got too much to gain.
I don't think I do trust any of them, whether they're attacking someone on the right or the left. I think there's just way too much, why are you there, that needs to be answered.
Then how could you ever have court? I mean, even at the lower level, when it comes to drug dealers and things like that, how could witnesses ever get a case accomplished if somebody is always saying, well, what else do you have to gain? You're actually holding trial for the witness as opposed to the actual accused. You're actually looking at them crooked as opposed to the evidence being presented before you.
Well, I mean, let's just say it's a murder trial and you got like eyewitness testimony. I think that is a whole lot different than I was his fellow drug dealer. Let me tell you what he did. That's apples and oranges,
I get what you're saying. I'm just simply saying if we use the mindset you're exhibiting, virtually everyone in court would go free, because
almost all witnesses have something to gain to some degree by testifying. That's even at the lowest of low levels. Somebody is getting a deal, getting a sentence reduced. There's always something to gain. So if you hold everybody accountable for what they're gaining and say, I don't trust you, then the courts would cease to operate.
Well, I mean, as a constitutionalist, I would be okay with that. You need to present picture evidence, physical evidence, biological evidence to put someone in prison for the rest of their life, not Bob, the fellow drug dealer. You know, that's my take on it. If the police can't prove the murder, if the police can't prove a murder outside of physical evidence, it has to go on to testimony. Dude, walks. I don't care. That's my opinion.
Okay, fair. And you're entitled to your opinion. I'm just simply saying if everything that was proven had to have DNA or video evidence, like I said, probably a 75% of the people in prison would be let out. Because most convictions, most convictions are not based on video evidence.
Well, it would be my opinion. We're going to have murderers out on the streets anyways. I'd rather have 9 actual murderers not be in prison than keep that 10th guy who is genuinely innocent be in prison. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough. Yeah, like I said, that's interesting though, because that would really upset our entire system. I mean, even for folks who believe Hillary Clinton, whether it's swallowing the hemoglobin of children or her death, listen, none of that stuff is on video. Like none of it. So when folks want to suggest that Hunter Biden and what he's did with children or your belief of it, even Epstein, how much of Epstein's activities are actually on video?
I don't know about video, but I think there's I'm not going to pretend to have followed that case real strongly, but I think there's a lot of strong physical evidence there. I mean, obviously,
what constitutes a strong physical evidence?
Again, I don't know the case extremely well, but I don't think it's just Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony, or there's a couple of victims that testified. If I remember correctly, there's more than that. But again, that's pretty anecdotal because I don't follow a lot of this stuff to the T, because the older I get, the more I realize it just frustrates the hell out of me, and worrying about my own hula hoop here is what's best for me. You know, I turned off Fox News many years ago. I used to sit there and drink and yell at the news like they were listening to me, man. And it was tearing my life up. But anyways, the one last thing I wanted to say about it though was, I think a lot of this has to do with the midterms. Okay, I think the 2 times they tried to impeach Trump was just, it doesn't matter if we actually get him impeached, we're going to keep him from getting reelected. And then what's going on right now? And then what's going on right now is, if there weren't midterms coming up, would we be having these hearings?
Well, I do believe that they would be had, but I do believe the midterms plays a big part, because they know that if the red wave that we all expect to happen, even myself as a liberal, I truly expect a red wave in November. The right wing is going to throw all of this out. That's why when you look at what happened on January 6th, I'm not talking about whether you call it a love fest or an insurrection. I'm not even debating that. I'm saying when you look at the words and testimony from Republican politicians the evening of January 6th, they were condemning him in mass. By January 7th, January 8th, when they realized that this was not going to end his career, they started coming back. So, yeah, it's very difficult to see the Republican Party making any significant effort to get to the bottom of this if they win the midterms. I'm not saying convict Trump. I'm not saying blame him of every inch. I'm saying find out what the hell happened. When this happened, all of the players took the fifth. So we don't even know if it's even Antifa or Black Lives Matter, because everybody involved said, I'm not going to talk and say anything. And you got a lot of folks on the right saying, well, it's not going to do any good, so why even hold the hearing at all? We don't even know what happened. So I'm totally a fan of at least getting people to speak and going on record as to suggesting what actually took place. Does that make any sense?
No, fair enough. I don't disagree with that. I just think when you look at the idea that because it feels like a kangaroo court, man. Imagine the exact same way that these hearings are being conducted right now. Imagine it's you on trial for something that'll put you in prison the rest of your life. And I don't mean like feel bad for Trump. I'm just saying, imagine you as an ordinary citizen, like these are your prosecutors, these are your witnesses, these are like this. This would be a,
Here's a problem I have with that in regards to saying these are your prosecutors. I don't think that there is any single Republican that could participate in these hearings, whether they're for Trump or against Trump, without being referred to as a rhino. The general train of thought is you need to shut the hell up about January 6th. If you speak out, you are a traitor to the MAGA movement. So there is no way to get to the bottom of it with that mindset. If you speak out, you're a traitor, you're a rhino, and every single thing you're saying is a lie. So how do you get to the bottom with something like that?
yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't. Call me crazy. Call me. I'll go get some foil, put it on my head. It just feels like people are selling out right now and are just saying whatever they need to say to pad the rest of their careers. It just does not feel kosher, and nothing has felt kosher in the last 2 years, man. I mean,
You think Liz Cheney is trying to pad her career? Liz Cheney doesn't have a career remaining.
I don't know.
What kind of career you think Liz Cheney is going to have after this?
A really good deal being a commentator.
She was in a position just like Mitch McConnell or Mitt Romney. She could have rode off into the sunset as a congresswoman for the rest of her life. That's not going to happen now. Same thing with Kinzinger and some of these folks. I don't see how you're making it sound like they got a career boost from this. In my opinion, they're going to be like Deep Throat, where they got to go into hiding after this. I don't see the career. I don't see the great career boost from this that you're seeing.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like people are doing whatever they need to do. That's just how it feels, man. Again, I don't have the evidence. And I said one last thing. Truly one last thing I'll say, unless you choose to ask me another question, I'll answer.
Go ahead.
It is that, I kind of forgot exactly where I was going with this, man.
It's okay.
No, it's just that nothing right now is believable from any side. And it just feels like you have to read between the lines on everything you're getting right now. And if at the surface level we're holding hearings and trying to get to the bottom of this, it's like, okay, what are you distracting me from? And I know people always think you're crazy when you bring up distraction, but we know it happens on both sides. And
okay, I do want to ask you one more question. I do want to move it on, but I'm going to ask you this one question before we part ways. You said nothing is believable right now. I'm assuming you saw 2,000 Mules. Did you believe that?
I only watched excerpts of it. I wasn't going to pay for that shit.
Okay. All right, man. I got to move it on. Always a pleasure.
All right. Have a good day, brother.
You too. Okay.
Get in the comments. And the reason why I brought up, I see you, Big Ivy. Big Ivy's you next on deck. The reason I asked him that, and I would ask a lot of you folks that, is because a lot of you guys do not trust what's happening in regards to January. I didn't get 5,000 likes. What the hell? You guys are that pissed off with me. I can't get 5,000 likes out of my favorite audience. Damn, you guys bogus as hell today. But anyway, I'm gonna continue the program out of genuine love from my MAGA audience, regardless of the fact they hating on your boy today. Okay, I will say this. I asked him, do you believe 2,000 Mules? Is because a lot of my audience have a problem with anything coming from CNN or MSNBC, or now you can add Liz Cheney and Bill Barr and all of them to the crowd because they believe that it is a biased source. But yet 2,000 Mules, created by Dinesh D'Souza, would have to be equally as biased, right? And a lot of my right-wingers believe that. So I have to find out where the mindset lies, is how you can believe one biased source, but you have an issue
and some serious disdain for the other. You guys have came through with those likes. I appreciate it. Big Ivy, let's move on to Big. All lockstep. Psychiatrists are already studying the Trump cult phenomenon. Wow, connoisseur. That's powerful. Okay, Big Ivy, you've been listening to the program.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's your mindset?
Well, you was talking about that Ruby woman.
Ruby Freeman, the mom, she testified at the January 6th hearing that with Trump calling her out and her daughter out as professional fraudsters, it has essentially ruined her life. The FBI asked that she leave her place of residence because it was not safe. The death threats were coming in that harsh. What do you think about that? Should Trump reach out to her and apologize or anything?
Have they explained how they shut the counting down because of some pipe leak that turned out to be an overflowed toilet, and told the people that was the poll watchers to go ahead and leave? The counting was done for the night, and then they stayed and counted after everybody left.
I've heard that, and let's assume all of that is true, what you're saying. Does that guarantee that they cheated for Biden?
Well, that guarantees that they was doing something away from the poll watchers. That is, I think, illegal.
Yeah, but that when you refer to somebody as a professional polling fraudster, what you're suggesting does not meet that criteria. That suggests that what you're doing looks suspect. I get that. I'm acting as though everything you're saying is true. Based on what you're saying, I would say that what happened here does not look right. But to jump and say you are a professional fraudster, where's that coming from? You got to present more than just that.
What about the case underneath the desk and triple counting votes, stacks of votes?
You're giving me circumstantial stuff. I get what you're saying, that if
you can
what you're saying is
triple count stacks of votes over and over again, because I think they know that most of the ones they're counting are for Biden, and they just keep on counting them over and over and over again.
And where's the proof that she continued counting votes over and over again for Biden? This woman, Ruby Freeman, that he stated was a professional pollster. Does he have? Because obviously, Trump has never met this woman or been in the room with this woman in a day in his life. Neither has Rudolph Giuliani. So clearly, they're getting this from somebody else. So do they have actual proof that she is continuing to count ballot after ballot after ballot for President Biden?
Yeah, there was video of it.
I have not seen that. I cannot imagine if what you're saying is true, and I'm not going to discount it. I haven't seen what you're saying, so I can't speak against it because I haven't seen it. But if the folks holding the hearing, this January 6th hearing, was dumb enough to put this woman on the stands knowing that evidence exists, that would have to be one of the most rookie mistakes of all. If you yourself has access to this video, are we to believe that the folks holding the hearing don't know this exists?
They don't care. They don't care. The ones in power that can control the police or whatever investigations, if they can manipulate that, then they ain't got to worry about accountability.
So why wouldn't Trump's FBI, the one that warned her to leave her place of rest, why wouldn't they go after her? Isn't that a federal crime?
I'd say it is, but like I said, who's ever in charge of them? Control everything.
Here's another thing I don't get. She was a Georgia pollster. Georgia, ran by Governor Kemp at the time. Now he's not. But at the time, Kemp was also on the Trump train. A Republican in a Republican state is where this took place. Why wouldn't the state government go after her?
I don't know. Maybe they had something on. I don't know.
That's the problem I don't get, is why so many folks that are on the Trump team are being accused of going after Trump. All the way down to Republican governors and people that he appointed himself. I mean, I have never heard of something where so many people that are on your team do not like you. People that you brought in, not the swamp, but people you personally appointed to your team. We're not supposed to believe all of these folks had it in for you.
Yeah, Trump really wasn't good at picking people to be on his side. He had to go with what he was told. But
Do you think
he's fresh into politics. He just
do you think he's gotten better at picking people to be on his side?
I don't understand Oz. I think he just picked him because his name was well known. But I don't know about Oz.
Well, if you're still to the point, because I believe there was another woman there that believed in Pennsylvania where Oz won. There was another woman that came in third place that most MAGA actually thought she would have been a better choice. And I had a broadcast on here and we talked about that. And people were saying that, yeah, Oz was a bad pick. And the reason I asked you, do you think Trump has gotten better at picking folks, is because if he was that bad at picking people, after winning in 2016 to the point where they literally ruined his presidency, and you put him back in 2024, and he's not learned his lesson from that, what kind of a presidency is he going to have in 2024?
I don't know. I think he'll get the economy rolling again, and I think he'll put a few of these dictators in check. But yeah, I'd rather have that and have my feelings hurt. It's kind of like a doctor. Would you want a doctor saying, you're fat, you need to lose some weight, it's very unhealthy for your heart? Or do you want a doctor saying, you look good, eat whatever you want to, live your life?
Well,
I want a
if
doctor
I
to
got
save my life.
fair enough, and I am overweight. If I got a doctor that is telling me I'm overweight and giving me good medical advice, I'm fine with that. But if I got a doctor that's referring to me as Fat Albert every time I show up, I don't know if I'm a fan of that. So
Yeah,
it depends on. Yeah, go ahead.
Now go ahead. I agree with you, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't want somebody to be an asshole to me.
And that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about just giving you healthy advice in terms of, we're talking about making up horrible nicknames and making fun of you. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, it would really make me mad if Trump got on stage with DeSantis and ridiculed him. Because I like DeSantis. I think everybody likes DeSantis. He's a good governor. He shouldn't do that. I'm glad he did it with Jeb.
Well, what about Pence? You're glad he ridiculed Pence?
Yeah. I don't like Pence. I think he's a traitor. I think he should have.
How did you feel about Pence? Let's say before the election in November. How did you feel about Pence the 3+ years that he was running with Trump? Did you think he was a traitor then?
Didn't think much of him. I didn't care for him. He didn't stand out any at all.
Okay. Well, all right, fair enough. I mean, and I'm just wondering that because I've seen a lot of folks like General Mattis, for instance, or even John McCain and George W. Bush. A lot of my MAGA folks voted for McCain and Bush. And all of a sudden, when Trump became president, these became some horrible people. And it's like, well, why did you vote for him 8 years ago and 12 years ago? And, so that's why I'm asking that. Trump has made a lot of folks turn their backs in mindsets on people that they otherwise would have voted for. I mean, let's be honest. How many MAGA folks would have voted for Jeb Bush had Trump not come on the scene and it was Jeb versus Hillary? You would have put the guy in as president. All of a sudden, now he becomes low energy. So that's what I'm asking. Trump has a really good ability to change people's minds on how they feel about folks. He's been really good at that.
Yeah, he's good at kind of like the Muslim ban. It really wasn't his idea. Obama really came up with the Muslim ban. It wasn't like all Muslims. I think he said that just to get like the media,
Well,
jumping
in regards to Obama being the one that came up with the Muslim ban, when Obama was in office, I heard from a lot of right wingers that Obama was a Muslim himself. You suggesting he tried to ban his own kind?
No, not his own kind, but people that couldn't be vetted.
Well, it's a difference between banning people that can't be vetted
and banning all Muslims, because a lot of Muslims can be vetted.
Yeah, that's why he said just certain countries. That's what he meant, certain countries. But I think he's just going for the headlines. That's
And
why he started, yeah.
And he,
He's
and he succeeded. And he succeeded at damning himself with that total and complete ban on all Muslims entering the country, which it's hard not to put that in the discrimination pile, because there's a lot of Muslims that we consider allies. So that was
right.
not a good call from President Trump. Well, look, I got to move it on, man. I appreciate you coming through as usual.
All right, you have a good one.
You too, Ivy. Big Ivy. Okay, fair enough. Obama's running the country now. Marky Mark, I don't know where the funky bunch is, but in regards to Obama running the country, that does not make sense. When you look at how the Obama administration performed with America, and you look at what Biden is doing right now, there's no way I would believe that Obama has anything to do with the Biden administration. They look like two totally different liberal administrations. I believe that whatever the hell the far left is on, far left being Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, AOC, they wouldn't be coming at Obama like that. I just don't believe that. Obama would get them and know how to talk to them and let them know, as he told the senators when he was in the room, at the end of the day, I won. This shit gonna run like I want it to run. And I think he would have told that to them. Whereas Joe Biden seems to be kind of caving to the far left, ruining his idea of uniting the country and taking it further left and becoming actually more divisive. I don't think Obama would have done it. Obama was, for the most part, unifying the country. He couldn't get the far right, and that makes sense. I mean, the far right is not going to agree with a liberal. They wouldn't agree with me, and I tend to be very moderate. The far right ain't going to hear shit that I got to say. Moving on. Looking at the box, 52 cents. Oh, my God. Never disappoints. Okay, let's see what's going on.
Hey,
Hey, what's up,
it's a fat liberal. I mean,
Fat Albert, huh? Fat Albert.
All right, let's go to dreamland for a minute.
Take me there.
Let's say President Trump isn't a Republican or a Democrat. Let's say
I say that all the time. I've said all the time that President Trump is the true rhino. He ran as a Republican to get access to the Republican money, just like Bernie Sanders. Continue.
Well, let's just say he has no political affiliation whatsoever. And he got in the mix to really do what he said he was going to do, is drain the swamp.
Okay.
So
how did he do, by the way, at that? After 4 years in office, what letter grade would you give Trump in regards to draining the swamp after 4 years in office?
Wait a minute. What if his draining the swamp was exposing the swamp? And now they're having this.
You're filling in the blanks with things he did not say. He said he was going to drain the swamp, not expose them. You're making up terms for him now.
I'm in imaginary land here.
Okay, all right, continue.
So this hearing that's going on right now, perhaps everyone that's speaking out against him is everyone that he's got dirt on. And it comes out that all those people that are busted on Trump are the ones that are the criminals, are the ones that are doing the illegal deals, are the ones that are doing the shady shit, and this is what's going to expose them.
Here's my response on that immediately. If you got dirt on Bill Barr, why the hell would you appoint him to your administration? If you got dirt on him, putting him in a position where he could ultimately get counter dirt on you and harm you. That would have to be the dumbest. When folks say that he is not a typical politician, these are the rookie mistakes that a non-typical politician makes. If you really got that much dirt on him, don't put him in your cabinet where now he can get all kinds of counter stuff. That would have to be about as dumb as you can get, right?
Unless you put him in that cabinet to catch him with his fingers in the cookie jar.
But you said he already had dirt on him.
I mean, this is La La Land.
Yeah, this is definitely La La Land. This is definitely. Continue though.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at. maybe all this that he's doing is what's going to end up exposing all the problems that are in the government.
Why would you think that? And I'm willing to entertain La La Land, but I guess at the end of the day, this is the point I'm trying to make. When you're president, you have as much intel and power as you can get in this country. Why would you not do that when you were in the strongest position and think that you're going to successfully be able to do that from Mar-a-Lago as a citizen with the Democrats in control? If
Well,
you
he
had,
spent 4 years defending himself from false allegations.
but if you got dirt on these people, why would you keep them in office knowing that they're dirty? That almost makes it sound like I don't mind you being dirty as long as you're dirty for us.
Well, I don't know. But all these people that say that I'm a Trumpster, I don't care if Trump wins or not. I care that liberals don't.
Okay, that's fair. And you know me, 52. We talk all the time. Despite
Yes.
my name, I welcome your opposing opinions. I'm just going by what you just suggested, though, is that if Trump had dirt on Bill Barr and dirt on Cheney and all these other folks, and he plans on exposing them, that's my first question: is why would you put dirty people in your administration? Why not expose? Remember, you were brought here to name names and drain the swamp, not appoint them to government cabinet positions. How much more dirt did they do while you gave them these high-powered jobs, knowing they were dirty when you appointed them? That would have to be one of the biggest farces, the biggest errors a president could make, wouldn't you think?
Well, not if he's setting them up for something. Remember, this was all hypothetical.
Yeah,
But
but even as a hypothetical, if you give a dirty, okay, Bill Barr was America's top cop, literally the top of the pile. If you're going to appoint a dirty cop to the highest position ever, knowing he is dirty, how could you not be held accountable for that?
well, maybe you're like the mayor of Chicago and want to do it her way.
And how is her way going?
Not very well.
You're defending them by actually. I'll say this. I know we're doing La La Land. We're entertaining, fallacies and things like that. But your defense of him actually is making him look even worse. That's just my opinion. You're making him look incompetent.
In all honesty, I don't care if Trump wins or Trump doesn't win. Trump did a lot of good things, but Trump was also an idiot, which is kind of why I voted for him anyway.
And you're really illustrating how bad he was with the La La Land stuff you're throwing out. You're making him go from looking criminal to just downright incompetent.
But I liked where I was at under his 4 years more than the 2 years we've had lately.
That's fine. And so did I. I like the economy under Trump as well. But I'm just simply saying, if you know you got dirty people and you're appointing them to high elite positions, how many folks are being victimized? Okay, we're enjoying our economy. We're enjoying our bottom line. But how many folks are these swamp creatures that you knew were swamp creatures victimizing in the process? You're getting people harmed by doing this. If you knew they were dirty and you appointed them anyway, you're destroying lives.
Well, it was all La La Land.
Yeah.
I don't know of any politician that's not crooked to some degree.
He's not a typical politician, though. You can't put him in that category.
No, he's not. That's why I voted for him, because he's not a politician.
Right, and now by your own admission, he probably made mistakes that a typical politician would not have made. But at the end of the day, we benefited financially, so be it.
But I mean, if you've got $1 million and you go into a casino to blow $1,000, that don't hurt you if you lost it. But if you've got $1,000 and you go into the casino and you blow $1,000, that's going to put a hurt to you. Trump had nothing to lose.
Yeah, but we're looking at Trump based on how our bottom line, you and I, how our bottom line performed. You're ignoring the fact of him potentially appointing a swamp creature and how many lives were destroyed by. You're just looking at how you benefited. But based on what you're saying, there could literally be thousands of people that are harmed by him deliberately appointing corrupt people.
that he knew was corrupt ahead of time.
Well, and that's if he did. I mean, you don't know. These people all got advisors.
I'm
His
in La La Land.
decisions.
I'm only saying what I'm saying because I'm in La La Land. I went where you took me. I'm at your house pointing out things in your house that you said.
Well, you're only as smart as the people advising you,
Fair
because
enough.
nobody knows everything about everything. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're a businessman, if you're a mailman, there's something you don't know. And if somebody tells you wrong and you run with it, and that was somebody that you trusted, yeah, you're ultimately responsible, but you got bad advice.
Well, I look at it. This is what I say about President Biden all the time. And when I hear liberals say that, well, the gas prices and the economy was a worldwide thing, I always say when you're the coach of a team, no matter what happens, you're responsible. Because if OPEC started pumping a bunch of oil, even though Biden had nothing to do with it, he'd be taking credit for the gas dropping. Same thing what you're saying. If you're being given bad advice by the defensive coordinator or by some of your lower coaches, if that team is losing, you should have gotten rid of the defensive coordinator. If you're
You're
not
right.
smart enough, if you're not smart, remember, Trump was going to appoint the best and brightest. You're making it clear that that did not happen based on your own statement. You're making it clear his promise to appoint the best and brightest did not come true.
Well, there's always a sheep in with the wolves, or a wolf in with the sheep, I should say.
I should be puking. You got the best spin I've heard today. You got some good ass spin. Hey, but look, I gotta move it on, man. I appreciate you
All
coming
right.
through.
I love you there, Skinny Albert.
Talk to you later. Much love. Okay. And that's what I'm saying is that it is going to be difficult for any significant accountability towards Trump to come out of the January 6th hearings, because 52 Cent, the previous caller, that's how most of my MAGA audience tends to think. No matter what you come up with, well, that person might have been crooked, or they may be working towards a political career, or he's working for a book deal. So any negative evidence that pertains to Trump has to have some nefarious motive to it. But any evidence presented in favor of Trump, which would also further a career, further a book deal, further Republican donations, is not held to the same account. I'm just being fair, folks. I'm not trying to bash Trump. I'm trying to call a spade, call a strike, no matter who's at bat. But anybody speaking in favor of Trump also gets a lot of wealth from it. They can also raise money and write book deals and get donations, but they're not held to the same account. That's all I'm saying. Let me go back to the box. RC Talk has been holding on that, but that's all we're trying to do is be fair here, folks. RC Talk, good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Awesome. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. I take it you've been listening to the program. You've been on hold. I appreciate that.
Yeah, here, let me turn my camera on for you. All right. So
looking real spiffy there, sir.
Yeah, well, I was doing a live, but I'm also at work too, doing work, and I have an appointment here coming up soon. But you know, I want to kind of go on a numbers run here, okay, and give you a whole different perspective. I think I have not watched 1 second of the Jan 6 trials. Leaving my opinion of January 6th out of this, okay?
All right.
The reason why is because I think there's somewhat of a double standard, because regardless of your opinion on January 6th, it was a crowd that was protesting the government in some form or another, right?
True.
The riots we saw in 2020 was no different. They're protesting, be it the police, which is a government entity, okay? And so, and again, leaving the opinion out of it, right? I think that there's a lot of debate on what was worse. I don't care, right? I think we start to lose sight of why we support Trump. Obviously, or why I supported Trump, or why people say they support Trump. Obviously, the main reasons you hear is, well, the economy and things like that, okay? Well, here's why I support Trump, okay? And it's not going to be the same for everyone. It's what he did for me, all right?
Okay.
The TCJ saved me over $3,000 a year in my federal income taxes, all right? Saved me over $1,000 a year in self-employment taxes through my business income. My
Okay.
S&P 500 investment averaged 11.77% per year annualized compared to the average 9.5%. My NASDAQ investment averaged me 24.17% average above the average NASDAQ return.
Let's just sum this up by
Yep.
saying he was better for your bottom line.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, it's even without going into those numbers, right? I have a reason why I supported Trump and his policies. Right? I
Okay.
have specific reasons. I can name those. As
All
far
right.
as
That's fine.
we have all this stuff going on with January 6th, I think we're so focused on the January 6th stuff, while at the same time, why aren't we talking about, I did a video the other day on Pelosi where I went and looked up her Mosher partnership on her financial disclosures, which has a direct link to Rocketdyne, which earns her $1 to $5 million in income per year. And Rocketdyne makes all the crucial parts to missiles used in javelins, which we're shipping at high rates.
When did she get involved in this?
The disclosure I saw was just the 2021 disclosure.
Okay.
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 So prior to
All right.
Ukraine. But regardless, what I'm saying is, are we going to maintain, okay, if we have a problem with what Trump did, then we need to have a strong problem with what other politicians are doing, right? And are we right to be putting so much focus on January 6th instead of putting the same amount of focus on, Pelosi's earning $1 to $5 million when we're shipping weapons to Ukraine. So I'm just saying, I'm not even pointing out the double standard. I'm just saying, I think our focus is, if we're going to focus on things like January 6th, we need to focus equally on the overall corruption with people.
All right, let me. I get your point. Point. Let me just say this: if you're let's say you get a speeding ticket and you opt to go to court and you're defending your speeding ticket. If you tell the court, as opposed to just focusing on I think you should also focus on all of the people that's running red lights. That's not going to help your case. You may be right. Yeah. It might cause more danger to that city ignoring the folks running through red lights than your speeding ticket.
Yeah.
But that's not going to help your case bringing up the issues that other people are getting away with. If Nancy Pelosi is doing something, what you're talking about in regards to Nancy Pelosi, there are plenty of right-wing politicians, the 100%. Sean Hannitys of the world, Brian Kilmeade. Why not start a petition, start a protest, and go after that? But that's not going to help you in court with these January 6 hearings, bringing up things that they're not there to address. You might have a legitimate point, but there is an avenue for that.
I agree. I guess what I'm really trying to say is the January 6 hearings are happening. We're putting a lot of focus on them, right? And I think we're losing sight as to why we should be voting for people, why we should be supporting people, right? I think we have a narrative in our head on why we support certain candidates both ways, right? So I only picked out Pelosi because that was just something I did the other day on and saw, right?
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying there's an avenue for that.
And so when someone says, they have their opinion based off Trump because January 6th, and they want to criticize me, well, why do you support Trump? Well, here's the actual numbers, what he did for me. Okay. And I think that everyone should have that. If you support Obama and he did that for you, then that's what I'm looking for. I can get behind someone who supports a candidate, Democrat, Republican, whatever. If it's something Biden did right now, okay, don't tell me it's because of the general thing you hear on the news. Give me how he benefited you.
Let me ask you this. I get what let me ask you this. Because I come from the south side of Chicago, and there were drug dealers everywhere. It was not uncommon for drug dealers to give kids a little money running up, buy kids a bike. Can you imagine a drug dealer being on trial and all of the parents saying, this is why I support this drug dealer. He bought my kid a bike, or he gave me a turkey at Christmas time. At the end of the day, that is you. That's not what he's actually done. That's not what he's on trial for, though. But go ahead.
But you see that the mob was big with that too, right? I mean, the mob was, everyone knew a lot of the people in the mob in that neighborhood. They took care of the neighborhood, right? You see this, it goes a lot of the ways. So I think that it is going to be anecdotal to an extent, right? Because there's some things I can't control. I can only control the people that are running and who I go and vote for. And I can only base it on how is it going to benefit me, right? Or benefit everybody.
But that doesn't sway a trial. No, I don't care. Even Charles Manson could have probably put somebody on the stand that could have said he'd done something great for them. I mean, that's always going to happen. That's not going to sway a trial or a hearing.
Mm-hmm. No, I know, but what I'm saying is, I think the hearing is more of from a political point of view, right? As far as it's being politicized, because there are so many other things on both sides. Like you listed a lot of things the right are doing. We could put so many of those people on trial, right, for things that are probably worse, honestly, when you look at things going on and how they're probably making money on it, right and left. And I think if we're going to focus on it, let's focus on it. Let's go all out. Let's clean up the corruption, right? If it's Trump's involved, get him out, right? But
well, you cannot hold a hearing on Trump properly if every single person that comes to the stands and talks, well, let's go through their entire life first before we continue with Trump. Which is what I'm hearing on from this broadcast on a lot of different people. Well, like one of the callers said, well, everybody has something to gain. So every single this is a political trial at the highest of levels. Every single person that takes the stand, hell, even the O.J. Simpson trial, how many of them got book deals and shit? There's no way to get involved in this without having something to gain.
Is it right for Pelosi to initiate an impeachment on Trump, the original impeachment with like the Zelensky in Ukraine, right? When she's profiting $1 to $5 million on us shipping weapons to Ukraine? Isn't that a conflict of interest? So we should have to do some digging here.
Then try her next. Try her next. That's all I'm saying. You'll never get through this hearing if you go through every single participant's life with a fine-tooth comb. It'll make it so that Trump will be long dead before the hearing is over with.
Yeah.
And in fact, not just this hearing here, literally any single court case in America. If you went through every witness's life with a fine-tooth comb before you actually came to an adjudication on the defendant, they would all outlive the trial.
Well, don't they make sure he doesn't have a conflict of interest in the trial?
What person involved in this trial, whether it's Pelosi or Liz Cheney, it's politics. Name one person in this that does not have a conflict of interest. Every single person that's involved in this, whether they're for Trump or against Trump, has something to gain or lose. There's no way to do this without them having a conflict of interest.
Yeah, and so I guess what I'm getting at is I agree with you, right? I think we're focused on certain instances when we really need to be focused on, again, it starts well before this, on voting a lot of these people in that we know have these conflict of interests, right? Not saying you're going to eliminate it, but corruption's all over the place, and it's obviously an issue that I think everyone agrees on. Okay.
Well, and we can handle. I guess the point I'm trying. We can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. Now that Trump is looking like he may be on trial, or we're looking at Trump, all of a sudden corruption. Trump was in office for 4 years. Why not drain the swamp then? I asked my previous caller.
Well, the swamp's voted in. He can't drain it. He can criticize it. The swamp's voted in. He can't do anything about that.
Then why was he saying he could?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Again, it goes back to he can criticize it all he wants.
That ain't what he said he was going to do. Yeah. He didn't say he was going to criticize.
And so choice of words is a problem. And the choice of words was a problem with Trump's whole candidacy, right? We're not disagreeing on that. As far as reality, though, the swamp's voted in. It's not up to Trump to decide who's in the swamp and who's not in the swamp. All he can do is
elected. He was elected by a lot of people under the belief that he was going to drain the swamp, and it was not just words.
Which goes back to my initial thing, right? I think that people support candidates not because of they do it because of a narrative, and not because of the actual benefits and policy that the candidate has to offer. That's why I came on here and
fair enough.
And that's why I came on here and listed the numbers, how it benefited me. I don't know about everybody else. Obama may have done it for you. Biden may be doing it for someone else. I don't know. That's just why I support Trump, right? The specific reasons. And anything else, I don't know. He can't. I know that the swamp's voted in, right? Some people don't. They say, well, he's going to drain the swamp and he made the economy great.
Well, in addition to the swamp being voted in, if you listen to Trump, Giuliani, my beloved MAGA audience, it looks like he also appointed a lot of swamp creatures as well. So as opposed to the ones that were voting, and he looked like he took office and brought a bunch of new ones with him. How many people did he have to fire? How many folks did he appoint that he later criticized or writing book deals saying that, like Omarosa saying he's a racist, or Scaramucci? How many folks did he bring on? John Bolton, we're talking Jim Barr, Chris, all of these folks are folks that came with him that now are being called rhinos and being called swamp creatures. They would not have been there without him.
Yeah.
What happened?
I think the difference with him was he ran it more like a business. If you notice, a lot of the people he brought in was temporary, right? He fired a lot of people. He got rid of a lot of people. He had a lot of turnover.
I'm fine with it being temporary. Yeah. Well, my problem is saying that they're incompetent and that they were actually against what you were trying to do. You can say I only brought you in for 2 years, like the former governor. I cannot think of her name, of South Carolina or whatever her name was. She came out, or somebody like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That's temporary. I can understand that. They went with your administration. They were players in the game. They were team players. Scaramucci and all of them, no. That's a bad pick, a bad appointment. And he has a lot of those. Yeah. Nikki Haley was the governor I was trying to come up with. I could agree with Nikki Haley or Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who came in as temporaries, because they were team players with what he was trying to do. But the Scaramucci's, the John Boltons, the Jim Barrs, those are bad appointments. And there's a lot of them from the Trump administration.
But don't you think that run? I don't. I was younger with Obama, right? So I couldn't go on and list anything nominations that he had. But right now, with what you're seeing, I think Biden is actually doing worse, because he's actually appointing people based on, look at the Supreme Court justice, right? I don't know if she was the best candidate. She may have been, right? But he completely eliminated all of the talent field when he said right off the bat and ran on the premise that he was only going to nominate a black woman. Which means he's not the best person, but he's done that consistently.
I've made it clear I'm not here to defend the Biden administration. I don't think they're doing a good job. I don't think Biden's going to run in 2024. But that won't divert or save Trump in regards to this hearing, bringing up. And I've had that on all my broadcasts. Anytime you bring up the hearing, well, what about the riots of Black Lives Matter? Or like you talked about, what about Nancy Pelosi? Point is, they're having a hearing based on January 6th about Trump. Bringing all these outside events in is not going to sway this hearing for what they're there for.
Yeah. And I guess, in my original premise, I think that what I was really trying to get down to is that it doesn't surprise me we're having a hearing, right? It doesn't surprise me a lot of the stuff that we see in Washington, right? And I think that people will go, and whether I'm right or wrong, this is my opinion, that we're going to focus on whether or not our support for anyone either involved in the trial or Trump's side or opposing Trump, right? And our support for them based off of this trial, and not the actual substance that they're bringing to why we are electing them and have them in Washington in the first place. And I think that we have gotten away from how are they going to benefit us instead of this whole show that they're putting on, agree with it or not, right? I mean, think about it. We have a lot of things going on right now. We got a war in Europe that's costing us money.
We always have, but I mean, we're the world leader. We always have a lot of things going on. It will never be a time the United States does not have a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's the other thing too with the January 6th that gets me. If you read the 14th Amendment section 4, okay, and I can pull it up, it says that any debt that is brought up, either the form of a bounty or anything to do with any form of insurrection, cannot be questioned, which means that they can spend all the money and time that they want to on this and no one can question it. All right. And I think that a lot of it is a money grab too. I think a lot of it has been politicized and it's a money grab. Again, it's an opinion, but when you read the amendment, it kind of sticks out and it makes you wonder.
Well, let me just say this. When you're accusing the president, or say Nancy Pelosi, like what you're talking about, or Hunter Biden, of a crime, and you respond with it being politicized, you're trying a politician. It is guaranteed to be politicized. The candidate is a politician. There is no way to try any politician without it being politicized.
No. When I'm saying politicized, I mean, Normally, you're right, because normally I would use the word politicized, right? And that's kind of the improper term I was looking for as far as the way to describe this. I'm thinking of like how politicians will, let's say, Roe v. Wade. Do they really care about Roe v. Wade? I don't think most politicians give a shit about. Sorry, I didn't mean to, but I don't think
Yeah,
they
they
care
do.
about Roe
Yeah,
v.
they
Wade.
do. Yeah,
I
they
think they do it
absolutely
because
do.
it makes it a bigger issue and it gets people talking and divisive, right? And it gets support for one side or another, right? I think
Okay.
most politicians will adapt their view of Roe v. Wade according to whatever their base is at that point in time, right?
That depends. Well, you know
And
something.
so,
We have true politicians, and we do have politicians that we refer to as fair weather friends. So
yeah,
I agree with you on some cases, but I do, like for instance, if you're a true evangelical, a true Christian that believes in the Lord, you're not going to be swayed on how you feel about protecting the sanctity of life. So I think that some politicians are fair weather friends. I will submit to you the evening of January 6th and looking at how many Republican politicians were condemning Trump and their view on what happened now, all of those are fair weather friends.
yeah,
Because
there's a
they're
lot that
real
supported him.
when they thought Trump was going to be held accountable for January 6th, their actual mindset and feeling about that day came out. The minute they found out he was not going to be held accountable, they changed their entire tune.
Yeah.
So those are clearly fair weather friends. But
And I had a problem. And I had a problem with Republicans on January 6th when it happened, right? Because of their feelings about January 6th, the same ones had opinions on the election, fraud or not, right? You had people that were saying, "Oh, it's fraud," and then when January 6th happened, all of a sudden it's not fraud because they felt bad about January 6th. But that's not your opinion, right? The event on January 6th should not change your opinion. You can condemn the event and still have your opinion hold still on what you believe happened, right?
You're not going to speak out in regards to the election and saying that it was Trump believes the election was held improperly.
Yeah.
He believes January 6th was a peaceful protest, a love fest. If you go against either one of those, because you're saying your opinion on the election versus January 6th, I'm just simply telling you, if you go against Trump on either one of those, you are a rhino and an enemy of the party.
I'm not
He is
denying-
not going to entertain any dissent on that.
I agree. What I'm saying is I'm not talking about now after a year of investigation. I'm only talking about you had people. I'm trying to think of one that was on the Republicans, right? That were completely against everything that happened. They're like, "Oh, it was fraud. The election was stolen." Then January 6th happened. That same day they come out and all of a sudden they're against Trump and saying that it wasn't fraud anymore, right? Well, there was no information that came out that should have changed your opinion on what you were saying literally hours before the riot, right? You could still, and so what I'm saying is that's where you see, well, what is the interest of the politicians? They're only doing it for the oh my God, now everyone's going to be against it.
Bingo.
That's where I'm getting at. And so that's where I'm saying that when I'm talking about politicizing it, right? A lot of people, like you said, on the right, I'm very critical of the right, okay? Do they really think the way they feel? Or are they doing this because it's, going to gain them support? They think that's the popular thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's where I guess my problem is lying with a lot of this.
And I agree with you. But listen, I got to part ways. You're welcome back to the program anytime. It's always a pleasure. You're looking good, man. We don't always have to agree. That's fine. We don't have to agree, but hey,
good talk.
It's a pleasure talking to you, man.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Catch you later. Okay, I will his comment about fair weather friends and folks changing their mind. And you guys can tell me where to F off or where to. I'm going to give you my spiel on it. We'll go back to the box. But my point on this is when Trump suggested that the election was not held properly, I believe a lot of Republican senators and Republican Congress people were power hungry. We're going to ride with this guy. Look at the amount of support he has. We're going to ride with him. And then on January 6th, when he literally put a lot of their lives are in danger, they decided this dude is crazy and we need to get him out of office and we need to speak out. And they were fine to do that to get him out of office. And when they found out that that was not going to work and the king was still going to be the king, they jumped back on the Trump train. You can tell me I'm wrong. I'm fine with that. I don't mind hearing dissent. I don't mind hearing folks. I see somebody in the comments already saying that's not true. Bori for life. Appreciate the comment. Appreciate you viewing. But I'm just simply saying that is what I've seen. Certainly with January 6th, all of those right-wing Republicans stepping up and saying that Trump has went too far, this is wrong, and holding them accountable. And now you look at their opinion now, and they've pleaded the fifth, they don't cooperate with the hearing, et cetera, et cetera. In the hearing, A lot of the folks who have pled the fifth, they're showing video of all of them condemning Trump, right-wingers, not liberals, not Nancy Pelosi, not Democrats, right-wingers. They're showing video of them getting on television. They're releasing phone calls from Hannity with saying that, look, this is destroying his legacy. Lori Ingram, they're all blaming Trump. They're not saying it's the rioters' fault. They're not suggesting, well, he did tell them to go to the Capitol building, but do it peacefully. No, their personal correspondents, the right-wing, hardcore MAGA supporters, they are blaming Trump. Take it how you may. Going back to the box. Mark time. Mark time.
How we doing?
Trump's the man since Thomas said, good afternoon, Mark time.
How you doing? I don't think I came on camera last time.
I'm doing good.
But we had a good conversation a couple of days ago, and so I thought I would hop back on.
And we'll have a good one now. We'll have a good one now. Welcome back.
All right. So I've never done this before. So one, I'm super new to live, so thanks for bringing me on. And two, I wrote down note cards. But it's because I respect you. I'm trying not to waste your time.
All right, let's do it.
Truly, so I follow politics too much to be healthy. Now, I'm not one of the people who's, all caps in the comments saying, like, Democrats are Satanists going to hell, like all that. I'm not that bad, but certainly. Okay, so the first thing that I thought we would touch on is, like, this, like, swamp piece of, the last guest said is like, he's like, I know, the swamp is elected, I know it. Some people don't know it. And like, you can kind of hear the defensiveness in his voice. And I feel like you kind of caught up on this of like, and you had actually said it immediately prior to him kind of to the first one about how like, whenever criticism of Trump is brought up, like it's like a porcupine, right? Like you immediately, like the spines come up and you're like, and they're like, it's like, womp.
Trump
like
said it.
Yeah.
I'll let you continue as usual.
Yeah.
But Trump said it himself. He's quote unquote, people do not like to hear bad information about me. And he's right. The minute you say something bad about Trump, you run afoul of MAGA. Continue.
Yeah. So I kind of understand that, and we can kind of touch on that like in a little bit, but I just like, that is not like where a place of learning happens, and I think we talked about last time, it's about community, it's about safety, it's about belonging. And if they feel that they belong in that sort of like at rallies with, 20 flags and Trump with like abs and like a Rambo machine gun, and if they feel like they belong in that, then like that's fine. I can't do anything about that, man. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't help you.
I love those.
Yeah. And let's just keep knocking them out. Okay, so there was that. The guy brought up about how, Trump's a businessman, and I hear that a lot. Kind of with the whole like donating a salary thing. Like there's a reason he donates his salary, and so he doesn't have to pay income tax on it, because if you pay income tax on $400K, then he's paying income tax on everything that he does make. And so that's just, I'm going to put that aside. I'm just setting that aside. The point I wanted to bring up about is the firing and hiring piece of like, he went through 4 press secretaries in 4 years, and which isn't like super uncommon, but it's also like, that was pretty common for his administration. And the point that I wanted to bring this to is he has a lot of like acting Secretary of Defense. And I think it's the most of any administration. Someone in the comments, please fact check me on that. But the reason that that's an issue is because if you have acting Secretary of Defense, it's because they do not have enough votes to be approved by the Senate, which makes sense. And especially in a hyper-partisan environment, like if it's 50-50 like it is now, like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz are blocking a lot of like defense and State Department appointments because they just refuse to vote on them. And one senator can kind of hold up that process, which slows down the functioning of government. And so I know that like when I grew up, I sort of had this like respect of the office. Like I wasn't anywhere near as like, I don't think anyone in the country was necessarily near as engaged or as politically like.
It's a ratings bonanza. Trump is a ratings bonanza. I get it all the time. Why do you talk about Trump so much? Because he's fucking interesting. That's why we talk about him so much. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah. And so anyway, the whole thing with this like acting thing is, like Mark Esper gets ousted as Secretary of Defense. And that's because he wasn't, a loyalist. Like he's gone through a ton of, attorney generals. Like Barr, I think, was his third or fourth attorney general, and now he's
Right.
crapping on Barr, right? Like it's very
Yeah.
much a loyalty game. It's run like a mob, not like a
It's
business.
it's not a loyalty game. It's a one-way loyalty. He owes
Yes,
no loyalty
yes,
to Barr. He'll let, just like with Michael
exactly.
Cohen. Michael Cohen was very loyal to Trump.
Hmm.
Trump threw Michael Cohen under the bus the minute he got a chance. So it's one-way loyalty.
Yeah. Yeah, first comment. He's still way better than Biden. Again, that's a whataboutism. It's deflection. It's you are not letting the criticism enter your brain or your heart. You just immediately reject it like vomit, and that's not intellectual. It's not critical. It's not human. Like you have to at least listen. Like you don't have to. Like I listen. I listen to all this stuff. The immediate point, and I'll move off of this, is the on the acting part. Acting Secretary of Defense Chris Miller. Does that name ring a bell at all?
No.
So Esper was ousted in November of 2020, and Chris Miller was installed, and he was the person who issued that January 4th memo about how the National Guard couldn't respond in the same volume that they did to the BLM protests. And, if you're going to use weapons, you need to run through me. And he gets all these phone calls on January 6th. And, I know that people want to bounce to like Pelosi, or like, where was Pelosi? What did she do? She's
Hunter
not the head of the
Biden,
National
you name
Guard.
it.
She is not the
Hunter
person who
Biden is
delayed that
another.
response. Like Trump watched it all take place. He let cops get the shit beat out of him. Again, I apologize. I'm sorry. He watched it all unfold and only issued tweets about how Pence was a traitor. Like that's how that day unfolded. And I understand January 6th is a sensitive point, but it's for what we're talking about, is because that is an issue that's almost undeniably a horrible American event, like the Civil War, like 9/11. It belongs in that category of this is an ugliness that, and unlike 9/11, we did it to each other. You can't blame brown people half the world away for it. You have to look at yourself in the mirror, and that's a problem, because that's, again, it's safety, it's community. People like that.
Let me ask you this question. Okay, so
Yeah.
let me ask you this. At the end of the day, do you believe President Trump, number 45, will be held to any account for what took place?
If I'm ranking, I would bet that he would get in trouble for real estate fraud, for buying a building, like saying it's devaluing its assets,
improperly adjusting the prices,
and then selling
New
it
York.
for millions more.
Yeah.
I would bet that he would get like civil problems before any crime. I don't know if I'm going to see Trump in handcuffs in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Because mostly what happens, because I don't think this raises to a RICO case, like a gang, you're bringing down the whole mob kind of case. It might. I mean, that's the problem. I think that's why people are getting so defensive, is that every January 6th hearing, more people are watching it than they thought. Like, if 33% of Americans are constantly watching or are paying attention to the Jan 6 hearings, that is not good news for MAGA.
No, it's not. I've said that myself, that even though my audience, my MAGA friends, even though you guys aren't watching this, does not mean it's not happening. And it doesn't look good. Now, I understand the mindset from Trump supporters is that 100% of the folks who have a negative opinion about Trump are lying, and the ones in favor of Trump are telling the gospel truth. There's nothing I can do about that, but I'm just simply pointing out that if you were to take Trump out of the picture and put any other citizen in there, with the amount of evidence flowing out on them, it looks bad. I mean, these are people you hired and you appointed, right and left, coming forward and saying, yeah, this dude did this.
Yeah.
And the people who think you're innocent are pleading the fifth. They're not showing up to speak on your behalf. So it looks bad.
Right. So, and to the MAGA audience, like, while you're like violently ignoring it, and I mean that honestly, like, while you put like horse blinders on and you're like, January 6th, like, I'm going to watch Tucker, I'm going to believe everything that he says, I listen to what the left says, which is like, where's the DOJ? Where's Merrick Garland on this? Where are these lawyers? Like, it feels like we have enough evidence, or there's enough evidence to take him down. And I think they are being very careful, because this is, whether they like it or not, this is worse than Watergate. This isn't putting a piece of tape on a door or wiretapping a room. They tried to convince state legislatures to overturn the will of the people, and that is a huge problem. And Mike Pence's aide was like, the people are going to solve this in the streets. And I know that like MAGA kind of has their like Civil War fantasies, and all this stuff, and like it's almost always resorting to violence. But like that's not going to turn out well. That's not going to turn out well for anybody. Texas, seceding isn't going to turn out well for Texas. The people who have their it's not okay.
It's not going to turn out well if we lose a state, and Texas is the biggest state in regards to the mainland behind Alaska. If you lose a state, it makes the United States weaker overall, and it absolutely would make Texas weaker. Sure. I mean, so you go from 50 people operating as one to 49 operating as one, which makes us weaker by the factor of Texas, and Texas now is by itself. So yeah, there's no benefit to the United States when you start breaking up the country. But look, I gotta move it on. I'm on lunch break, so appreciate you coming back through, man. Had the notes. Shout out.
I got through like half of them. I'm ready anytime. Listen, anytime.
7 o'clock tonight. I'm gonna be back on. We gotta finish this one, but I do appreciate you, man. Come on back if you're willing.
All right, bye. Anytime.
All right, have a good one. All right. I'm saying before I wrap it up, and I see Sniper Grip said I will never vote for a Democrat ever, and that's a fact. That's fine. If you're pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, why the hell would you vote Democrat? Just like there's a lot of reasons not to vote Republican that have nothing to do with Trump, nothing to do with January 6th. Like I said, be able to call a strike no matter who's at bat. I can see lots of reasons, even as a liberal, to never join the liberals. And I can see lots of reasons on the other side. But that doesn't mean you don't hold people accountable. Don't ever get to the point where you love your party so much that your party cannot do anything wrong. Because now you're just inviting corruption from your side of the aisle. All right, folks. 7 p.m. Central, if you want to come back. Appreciate those who followed the channel. You guys got me up to an insane amount of likes, 20,000. That's really good. I'm certainly happy. A lot of my patriots in here was not interested in hearing this shit of all things. Nobody wants to hear Trump, as Trump himself said. People don't like to hear bad information about me. I get it. But this is a no snowflake zone. We let everybody speak. We let you get your opinion across. Whether or not we agree or disagree, that's not the point. The point is, as long as we can make this happen, even in my little small corner of social media, I think we're doing better than Washington because they're not talking at all. Catch you guys later. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I'm out of here.